in. Okay, let's see. Hi everyone, welcome to join our webinar today. We will just give everyone a couple more minutes to trickle in and we will get started right away. Thank you. Okay, I think people are starting to joining in, so we can kick it off by welcoming everyone. You know, it's really uncertain times and almost, you know, we can even start by describing what kind of level of anxiety that each of us is facing, especially to those who are moms or, you know, planning to be pregnant or like already have their young children. So to just introduce myself, my name is Elle. I'm the founder of Emilia George. If you haven't heard of us, we are based in New York City. I started the sustainable maternity brand when I was 7 months pregnant, working full time, really just hoping to create some additional solutions to help dress professional women, you know, in today's world that they can feel comfortable and they can also feel still their professional self while pregnant. You know, to me, it's always more than just selling beautiful clothes. I always wanted to do a little bit more for the mom community. And thanks to the power of Instagram, I found the Mindful Mamas Club. And I started to chat with, you know, today our guest of honor, Terra LaRock, who is an awesome mom influencer and the founder and the CEO of Mindful Mamas Club. And Terra, I believe we got connected last year, and you know, it's been a wonderful several months for us to just bond over motherhood, mompreneurship, and you know, thank you so much for offering to have today's session, because I can't think of another time that is more needed for us to just take a breather, step back, have 1 hour to ourselves. Full disclosure, I have a sticker on my door, like do not disturb to my husband and, you know, my baby, so that they will not come in for the next hour, fully present with all of you. And, you know, today we also have Carina, who is also an awesome mom and head of mindfulness and voice at the Mindful Mamas Club. For us, it's really important to really recognize that inner need that we all have to have some relief of the stress, anxiety, sleep better, have a little bit de-stressing skills, and tool sets that we can utilize on a day-to-day basis. And, for the next hour, I will really, give all the time to our stars of the show today and let them to walk us through some of the most useful tools that all of us can do, even in the very busy schedules. What are some of the things that we can do if we have only a couple minutes alone time, or late in the evening when we're so tired, how we can just decompose and really just unwind a little bit so we can be better prepared for what's coming. I don't think we need a reminder of what's happening in our country and in the world, and just how much stronger that we all have to be. So without further ado, I personally am so excited to let Terra and Carina to lead our session today, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. Feel free to type in your questions in the Q&A session anytime that Carina and Terra will address your questions either live or by typing in the answers. And we will be, I'm sorry, New York has a curfew alarm. So there's this alarm setting, sorry about that. Okay, so I will mute myself.
Citywide
and
curfew in effect
sorry.
for NYC, 8
Sorry, this is really something we cannot control. Okay, so I'll mute myself, and Terra, please start.
Essential workers
Thank you.
exempt.
I think right now anything goes. We are so exposed to what life is like for everybody on the other side of the screen. And we see babies and husbands. Mine just came in 2 minutes ago before we went live, and I'm like, get out of here. But at the same time, that is what connects us, is we're all moving through this shared experience together. And I am so thankful and grateful that you took this time today to come and learn, and to be able to be in a receptive state of receiving this information and using it to help you soothe and to help you support and to meet your stress and anxiety exactly where it's at. Because when we can learn how to befriend it and to walk with it and not against it and away from it, we deepen our capacity to hold and be the container that mothers are for their children and for the world. And so thank you for being here. My name is Terra LaRock, and I'm the founder and CEO of Mindful Mamas. We are a maternal wellness company, and our mission is to create the most happiest, the most whole, the most loved family units possible. And we really believe that if you teach a mother a skill, you can teach the whole world, and peace begins with us. And so we recently launched a mindfulness and self-care app. It's called Mindful Mamas. It's available for Android and for Apple. And I am so grateful that I was connected with Elle of Emilia George. Both of us launched our businesses while also launching our babies, so to speak. We're raising our businesses and our babies at the same time, and that's what we connected on. We also connected on really empowering women, making them feel good, making them feel heard, making them feel seen. And I am going to kick it over to Carina, who is my work wife in Mindful Mama. She is a anxiety alchemist, and she is the perfect person to lead us through this practice. I will be here to help moderate. I have a PDF to share with you that will overview the tips that we're teaching, so you'll have a little reminder that you can print out and put on your fridge or put on your mirror or write down in your journal. And we have a couple discount offerings for you as well for being here, to just love on you and give you an extra something to send your way. So this is a very experiential experience, and we invite you to lean in as deeply as possible. If for some reason you are feeling resistance to anything we're doing, know that that's okay. And you can show up as authentically as you are. And Carina and I come from a lens of being trauma informed. And so everything that we say or suggest to do is just merely a suggestion. And we encourage you to listen to where you're at today and be okay with that. All of you is welcome here. So we're so happy to meet you. Carina, take it away, my friend.
Hi, everyone. I'm so glad to be here with you, and helping moms and people in general, but especially moms with anxiety, is so dear to my heart. This is my favorite thing to teach and to share with you because it's been such a part of my journey. I had my son 5 years ago, and the first couple of weeks were so joyful and blissful, and then I felt kind of plunged into this really dark space that was, I felt very clouded by postpartum depression and anxiety. And I had struggles with anxiety in my early 20s, and then I was experiencing it now in a totally new way. And so I had to learn new tools, and I had to find a different way through. And I just want you to know that as a mom who is looking for tools for anxiety, that you are not alone, and that there's nothing wrong with feeling anxious. And as you'll see in what we're going to learn today, it's amazing that anyone doesn't feel anxious. And the truth is that we all feel anxiety sometimes. It is a normal adaptive response to stress. So I hope that you can give yourself some compassion for being in the place that you're in. I know that your anxiety may feel like it's at an all-time high right now, and that's okay, because we are in this together. And I really hope that you can walk away today feeling really proud that you showed up, that you came here, you took time away from other things to learn and experience something that will really support your own well-being. And you should be so proud of that, because that is not easy to do as a mom. So we're going to talk about a few ways that we can work with anxiety. And before we do that, we'll do a short little meditation just to help us ground and kind of clear away anything from earlier in the day. And then at the end, we'll do a little Q&A as well. So first, take a moment to just notice, how do you feel right now? And maybe you feel something in your body, maybe you're aware of a lot of thoughts in your mind. Just take a minute to notice, what's present within me right now? Maybe there's an emotion. Maybe you want to write that down if something comes up. And if you don't know what you're feeling, that's okay. And so maybe something has come up for you, or maybe not. And in addition to noticing how you feel, notice, how anxious do you feel right now on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being like totally chill, nothing can bother me, and 10 is like, I'm freaking out. Where do you fall on that scale right now? And just being really honest with yourself. You don't need to share this with anyone. It's just our way to kind of check in with how we're coming into this. So when you have your number, just knowing that that is temporary, that's something you can have compassion for, and then just letting that kind of fade out of your awareness. Maybe you write it down and you let it just live on this piece of paper. And then we're going to start to shift into our meditation. So in order to do that, we want to try and clear out any distractions. So if you have your phone nearby, you can put it on silent or just flip it over if you need it close. Notice if maybe there's noise coming from outside and you can close a window. Just notice if there's any way that you can support yourself in having a more enjoyable experience without distractions. And you don't have to have meditated before. I'm going to guide you every step of the way. So you might like to sit or lie down. This will be just a few minutes. So going ahead and getting yourself comfortable. And I always like to just kind of wiggle in my seat a little bit, feel my hips on the seat. And that always helps me feel like I can sit up a little taller. it's so easy to just kind of slump when we're when we're at our computer on our phone. So maybe it feels good to slump, maybe it feels good to sit up tall. How does your body want to rest for the next few minutes? And then just take a moment to turn your head and your neck and look around this space that you're in. And you're not really looking for anything in particular, you're just noticing. And just letting your eyes wander. Looking up above you, looking down. And so when we start a meditation by looking around us like this, we're basically telling our nervous system, our mind and our body, this is where I am and I'm safe here. Like, oh, I know this place. I can relax here. So whenever that looking around feels complete for you, you feel secure being here in this space, take a moment to find one thing in the space with you that you enjoy. So maybe it's a vase of flowers, maybe it's the color of the wall in front of you, or yeah, the flowers. Just finding one thing that you like right now. And it doesn't have to be your favorite thing in the world. It can be the thing that is the least bad in the room you're in. And then take a moment to focus on that one thing. And just take a few easy breaths, letting yourself enjoy it for a moment. So if it's a vase of flowers, just letting your gaze settle on it, taking a few breaths and just thinking like, God, those are so beautiful. I love those. I'm so glad those are here. And you can stay focused on that thing as long as you like. And whenever you're ready, start to turn your awareness inward. So that might include closing your eyes or letting your eyes find somewhere in the room to just kind of settle and rest. And as you draw your attention inside yourself, you might notice again how your body feels. You might notice that there's some emotion present, or maybe that you feel really clear right now. Just noticing what you notice, trying not to judge it. And if judgments come up, that's perfectly okay. And start to notice your breathing. You can take deep breaths if that feels good, or just notice that you are breathing. You don't have to do anything or change it in any way. You can just think, I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out. And just watching that ebb and flow of your breath for a few rounds of breath. Notice if there are thoughts coming into your mind, maybe thoughts of things from earlier or things that need to be done later today. And that's so normal for those thoughts to come. But see if you can just kind of let them go the same way they came, like a leaf falling onto a river. It just kind of gets carried right out of your mind. And you bring your focus back to your breathing. I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out. And as you continue to rest and breathe, notice one thing within you that you're enjoying right now. So maybe that's a sensation in your body, like the way that your rib cage or your belly expands when you breathe in. Maybe it's feeling the cool air that flows out through your nose as you exhale. or maybe it's a feeling of warmth in your body. So finding one thing within yourself that you can enjoy for just a moment. Letting yourself really focus in on that thing, enjoying it as much as you can for a few breaths. And then whenever you feel ready, you can just kind of let that go. Maybe it feels good to move your body a little bit, rolling your shoulders. If your eyes are closed, you can let them open, maybe looking around the room again. Taking some big breaths. Maybe it feels good to like reach your arms out wide or all the way up. Take a big stretch. And again, just notice how you feel. Maybe that number of where you are on that anxiety scale, 1 to 10, maybe that's changed, or maybe it's the same. So all meditations are different. And when we are someone who struggles with anxiety, it's part of our life. It's something that we have to work through in order to really be present for ourselves and the people we love. There are certain things that we can do that can be really helpful. And one is that outside-inside awareness. So when we, walk into our baby's room to pick them up after their nap, instead of going straight to them as fast as we can take a moment, open the door, look around, notice the light in the room or that really beautiful painting that's on the wall, and have that moment of like, oh, this is a beautiful place. Oh, I love it here. Or, oh, it's safe here. And then go to your baby. And then it's so much easier to connect with, oh gosh, I love this little being so much, rather than some of the thoughts that anxiety might want to bring in of like, oh God, are they gonna, go back to sleep after I nurse them? Or are they gonna be okay? Or, all of those kinds of things. It helps us kind of get ahead of anxiety a little bit and have a little more control over how we're perceiving our world. So let's start with our first tool, which is to get it out. So you may notice when you're feeling anxious and you try to meditate or to be still, you can just get really, really uncomfortable. And that's because anxiety is a flight response. You've heard of fight or flight. So when something feels like too much and our nervous system gets overwhelmed, it tries to balance itself. It tries to help us feel safe, feel like it's not too much. And so there's a lot of choices that our nervous system has in that process. But if we're feeling anxious, we know that we're in flight mode. And so we might notice things like our muscles are tense. Maybe you notice that your jaw is kind of locked all the time, or you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, oh wow, those are a little higher than they should be. And you might notice that your heart beats faster, your body gets hot. You can feel this uncomfortable electricity in your skin. Maybe you can't stop moving, you're fidgeting, you're pacing, you feel scattered, like you can't focus. And so if we look at all of that from a biological perspective, it makes a lot of sense that our body is preparing us to run. It's preparing us to get away from the thing that feels like, whoa, this is way, way, way too much. But because we're not just running away from our child's tantrum or that conversation with our partner, that we're not completing that flight response. And so that energy, that excess electric, really intense energy, it gets stuck in our bodies and it builds. It builds and builds. And so we have to get it out in some way. We have to discharge it. And so there's a few ways that we can do that. And I'm going to share with you 3 things that we can do that are really really quick, really simple. You can do it while you're with your kids, while you're at work, or you can do it, you know, like, okay, I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back. You can kind of excuse yourself to do it in private, whatever feels good to you. So the first is lion's breath. And this is such a fun one to do with kids, like the littler, the better, because they love it. And so for lion's breath, you take a normal breath in, and then when you breathe out, you stick your tongue out and you make this sound. And I know that at first that can feel a little like, I don't really want to do that. But when we do, we can actually discharge a lot of energy. We can break through some of that tension. So let's go ahead and do 3 rounds of lion's breath together. So take a normal breath in, stick your tongue out, exhale. Very good. 2 more. Deep breath in. And maybe on your next exhale, you want to shake, you want to get your lioness paws out, you want to claw, you want to growl, you want to fluff up your mane, you just go for it, okay? Nice breath in. Doesn't that feel good when you just go for it? And it's so fun to do it with little kids because they have no self-consciousness at all. They haven't learned that yet. So they'll get on all fours, they'll roar, it's so much fun. And then you see how confident they are in doing something like that. And it gives you permission to do the same. So lion's breath is a fantastic tool for releasing excess energy. And another thing is shaking. So again, this is one of those things that can feel like, that's kind of weird. But when you look at animals who have been through something that has been scary, it put them into flight mode, like a gazelle being chased by a cheetah. If they are not eaten, if they get away, you'll see what they'll do is that once they know that they're safe, they will shake, 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 shake. And then when they know the coast is clear, they'll get up and they'll walk away. And there's this great book about animals and trauma, and it's called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. And it talks about this, that as human animals, we are animals, we have lost so much of those innate involuntary movements. And when a gazelle is shaking after getting free, they're not thinking, oh, I should do this to discharge charge or energy. It's just an automatic response. So when we take a moment and we just like, whoa, that conversation was a lot, tantrum was a lot, whatever that was like really bringing up a lot of anxiety in me, I can just shake and shake and shake, and I can put on a really good song and let myself just go for it and get it all out. And I have to tell you that for me personally, this has been one of the most helpful tools in relieving a lot of anxiety in a really short amount of time. I put on a song I love and I just go for it. And if shaking doesn't quite work for you, as you know, not all of these tools will. Some will work for others, or for some and not for others. Any type of movement is helpful in moving that energy. So if you are a runner or a dancer or a yogi, or however it is that you like to move, lean into that. Use that love that you have of movement to help yourself release. And if you're not a mover, then something like shaking or starting with just whatever feels doable can be really helpful. So our next tool that we can use to get it out is to tense and release. So we'll go ahead and do this together. We're going to do 3 rounds. So you might like to close your eyes or kind of settle back into that more relaxed meditation seat that you had. And take a full breath in. And as you breathe in, you're going to make fists with your hands. You're going to lift your shoulders up to your ears. You're going to squeeze your whole body, scrunch up the muscles of your face, tighten your belly, curl your toes, like really tighten your body as much as you can. Sip in a little more air. And then as you breathe out, let out a big sigh, let it all go. And then you can give yourself a little moment to just feel, because it really moves stuff. And then we'll do 2 more together. So deep breath in, squeeze your whole body, tighten up your face. And exhale, let it out. 1 more, tighten, deep breath in. And let it all go. And so I love teaching this because you can see everybody's face gets a little more sparkly. Everybody starts to just kind of move naturally. You can feel and see that it's freed up some joy and some love and some life force. And it's just a really simple, beautiful thing. And for my 5-year-old, we do this a lot. And I don't know if you have a 5-year-old who, or someone around his age who is starting to have bigger tantrums. That's been an interesting thing. And so after he starts to calm down, we'll do a tense and release. And I have him do it just with his shoulders. He just breathes in, lifts his shoulders up, exhales, drops them down. So those are 3 tools to release, and you don't need to do all of them. The thing about learning a variety of tools is that we practice them. We take what works for us and we put it in our tool belt so that when we need it, we can pull it out and we just practice it. And you don't need every anxiety tool there is. That would just be overwhelming. You just need the one that works for you. So these are 3 ways to discharge excess energy. And only one of them needs to work for you. And they don't have to be these 3 that we talked about, because there's so many more, but I hope at least one was helpful for you. So after we've released, we've gotten out some of this excess stuff, then we want to soothe our anxiety, right? So get it out and then soothe it. Because again, anxiety is a flight response. So our body is thinking, whatever I'm encountering that feels like too much is, to my nervous system, is registering as unsafe. So how do I tell my mind, my body, my nervous system that I'm safe? And so one thing that we might notice with anxiety is fidgeting, doing some repetitive motion, wrapping our fingers around our hair, clicking a pen over and over again, driving your partner insane. We have these repetitive movements that happen. And part of that is that it's our body trying to soothe itself. And because we're coming to it with anxious energy, it's fast. And it's kind of winding us up more and more. And so if we just slow that movement down, you slow down the movement of, winding your fingers around your hair or clicking your pen, you start to rub your pen and you do it as slow as you can, your body will start to get this message of, oh, it's safe for me to slow down. Oh, maybe I don't need to feel this way as much. And it will start this kind of chain reaction throughout your body. You'll start to shift out of flight and into a more relaxed, balanced space. So there's a lot of ways that we can soothe ourselves. And really, anytime we notice that we're feeling anxious, we can slow down whatever activity we're doing. So like if you're cleaning the kitchen and you're, frantically scrubbing, you can notice it and like, okay, let's work with this. And then you take your sponge or your cloth and you just slowly make your circles, and you notice the sound of your breath, or you change the music from, up tempo to something more relaxing. Then you start to create this environment for yourself, outside and inside, where anxiety doesn't have as much of a footing. Things just start to slow down a little bit. So a way that we can do that through breath is called integration breath. So we'll go ahead and do this together. This is one of my personal favorites, and I know a lot of people love it, so I'm so happy to share it with you. So for integration breath, you have your palms face up, and I have to have mine a little higher because of my camera, but just wherever they feel comfortable resting in front of you. And then you're going to take a breath in, and as you breathe in, lift your palms up. Can be just a couple inches. You can extend your arms all the way, whatever feels good. And then when you're ready to breathe out, you turn your hands over and exhale as your hands float back down. So let's go ahead and do 5 breaths like that together. So breathe in, float your hands up, and breathe out, float them back down. Breathe in, float them up. Breathe out, float them back down. And then we'll go ahead and do 3 more at our own pace. Whenever that's complete for you, you can just let your hands settle, or if it feels really good, feel welcome to keep it going. And so integration breath has this really beautiful way of syncing our mind and our body together. And our breath is really the doorway of that. Our breath is how we can sort of directly talk to our nervous system. So when we change our breathing, when we slow it down a little bit, it can be a really beautiful way to communicate to your body. I see you. I know you're afraid. I know you feel uncomfortable, and I've got you, and you're safe. So another way that we can communicate that to ourselves is by doing self-holds. So sometimes we do this naturally, something intense happens and we know we need a minute. And so we put a hand on our heart and a hand on our belly and we just feel ourselves and we breathe. And there's a lot of ways that we can do this, and it's very individual. So hand on your belly, hand on your heart is one. Hands on your shoulders, like you're hugging yourself, can be really nice, especially if you just kind of like let your shoulders curl forward, let your head drop down, and you just kind of let yourself be held by yourself. The way that you would just totally relax into someone else's arms, you can do that for yourself. Something that I really like is, my partner hugs me in like he just wraps his arms around and gives this really tight squeeze. And so when I'm away from him, I will squeeze my body like that. And it brings that same feeling of safety. And it also helps me to feel a lot more grounded, because it's this sense of like, okay, I feel my body. I feel my muscles and my bones. And, I know I'm here right now. So there's lots of ways that we can hold ourselves or massage ourselves in order to communicate. You're safe. I got you. And if we can say those things out loud, like, I know that tantrum was totally overwhelming and it's over now. And you did a wonderful job and you're an amazing mom. If we can tell ourselves those things we really want to hear while we are touching ourselves in a loving way, it can be so powerful. And I really recommend, if you find that someone says something to you when you're feeling upset or anxious that really helps, write it down, put it up somewhere where you're going to see it, so that instead of having to remember to tell yourself, you'll just pass it in your house like, oh yeah, that's right, I am an amazing mom. Oh yeah, that's right, I am safe in my body. So our final kind of area that we can explore some tools in is to interview our thoughts. So thoughts just come. That's what our mind does. It creates thoughts, and having a mind that is very full or very busy is not a bad thing. That's a sign of a mind that works really well and knows exactly how to do its job. I think it's a sign of intelligence when we can just have all these thoughts and ideas and we can create lists and think of all these scenarios. Like, that's a sharp mind. So don't get down on your mind for that. We just have to learn how to work with it a little bit, because those thoughts are just going to come. And we don't have to believe all the thoughts we think. Some thoughts are obviously true. Some you're like, I'm not sure about that. But until we really look at those thoughts that we're thinking, we just kind of accept them all. And something that is so powerful for so many is to share the anxious thoughts that you have. So I know when I feel anxious that a lot of those thoughts aren't true. A lot of those like fear fantasies, I call them sometimes, that I can create in my mind, there's no way they're ever going to come true, but I don't know that until I see it or share it with someone. So we want to get those thoughts out and have them live somewhere outside of us. So you can write it down on paper, just all the thoughts in your mind, or share it with somebody. And if I am feeling like speaking, but I'm just home alone, I will get out the voice app on my phone, like the voice recording app, and I'll just talk so that I can kind of process externally. And what you'll notice is that as you either hear yourself or someone reflects to you, or you look at your list of these thoughts you have about a certain scenario or a fear that you have, is that some of them will just start to fall away. You'll look at them and you'll think like, that's so ridiculous. That's the silliest thought. That's never going to happen. But it doesn't feel that way when it's in your mind. So you'll have thoughts that fall away. And then there will be a few, maybe even just one, that's kind of sticky. And you're like, yeah, but that actually could happen. And that's the thought that deserves your time, that really deserves like, okay, this is a true fear and I can be with this and I can get support in this. So there's a few different ways that we can interview one of those sticky thoughts. So the first one is this true? Or could it become true? What is more likely to happen than this thing? So let's say you are, you have 3 kids and you want to take all of them to a water park nearby while your partner is out of town on a business trip. You know, it would be so fun for them. You'd love it. You'd make memories. They've been begging you to go, but that's like a big job and you're not sure if you can do it. And so as you're getting ready to go and you bought your tickets and you're packing your bags, you've got all these thoughts in your mind. We can clear out a lot of that and really focus in on the ones that need your attention by, again, writing them down, sharing them with someone. And then let's say you have a thought of like, what if my toddler gets hurt and then I have 2 other kids to take care of too? Like, that's a real thought. That could happen. Water parks are slippery places, right? So is this true? No, but it could become true. What's more likely to happen? Well, what's more likely to happen is that all kinds of things are going to happen. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to make memories. I know that that's all true also. How could I get help if this did happen? Well, there's lots of lifeguards around. They all have first aid kits, so we'd be okay. There's other moms around, so I know I'm not going to be alone. And I can plan my reaction. I can say, if my toddler gets hurt, I'm going to take a deep breath and I'm just going to totally be with them. And I'm going to be mom to them. And I trust myself to handle that scenario. So we can kind of look at how we can support ourselves in future potential scenarios, things that we feel anxiety about. And then we also want to flip the script a little bit, because when we have minds that tend toward anxiety, we spend a lot of time in this negative channel of our mind. And by negative, what I really mean is protective. It's the mind saying, let's be suspicious, let's be cautious, let's really look at all of the things that could go wrong so we can protect ourselves. And so when we spend too much time in that channel, we miss out on a lot of the beauty of life, and we miss out on a lot of presence and love with our children. And so we want to shift a little bit, and we call this the Missy Elliott. It's the flip it and reverse it. It's like, I've been anxious, I've been really worried, and there's also a lot of other things my mind can do. So let me shift into the positive channel, which is, what is the best case scenario? The best case scenario is that I could prove to myself that I am an amazing mom. I'm so much more capable than I ever thought. My children laughed more this day than I've ever heard them laugh in my entire life. This could be the best day of our entire family history so far. That's the best case scenario. And of course, the more time we spend in that positive channel, the bigger and more possibilities come through. And we want to think about, what is the best possible outcome? And what if everything turns out better than I could have ever imagined? Because we lose that when we experience anxiety fairly regularly. We don't let ourselves spend time there, or that just feels really foreign. And so we want to start to bring that back online a little bit. And one way that we can do that is to start a gratitude practice. And this can be something as simple as, you know, when you wake up in the morning, as you're pouring your coffee, you think of one thing you're grateful for. And maybe every day it's the same thing. Maybe it's, oh, I'm so glad this coffee is hot right now. Or maybe you, when you sit down at dinner time with your family, everybody goes around the room and they share what they feel grateful for. So a gratitude practice can be really simple, but it has this way of diverting channels. So instead of spending all this time in the negative channel of the mind, we keep going back to the positive every single day. We give ourselves an opportunity to go back. And the more that we spend a balanced amount of time, because we need both of those channels. We need to be looking at, are we safe? Is this worth it? And what's possible? what amazing thing could happen, then we start to spend more time in this middle place, which is the witness. And that's one of the places that we cultivate in meditation is I'm not worried about an outcome. I'm just observing, and how interesting is everything that's going on, and how peaceful can I feel when I'm not trying to fix or move anything in a certain direction. I can just witness and experience. So having a gratitude practice can be so incredibly beneficial for our mind. And then one more thing that we want to do, and this is our last tool for interviewing thoughts, is to check in with our bodies. Because I know that a lot of us have this kind of internal dialogue of, is this fear anxiety talking, or is this my intuition? And that is such a hard thing to discern. And at the same time, I feel like that's one of the gifts of experiencing anxiety, is that because we're spending so much time in worry and fear and doubt, we have all these opportunities to discern that. And so I think that this is really individual, and that we will all find our own way through this. But I want to share with you my way, 2 ways actually, that I use that might work for you also. So one way is that when I know that fear is anxiety, when it comes with a bunch of thoughts, it's complex, it feels judgmental. Maybe I hear voices from people like my parents, or somebody else in my life, maybe like a judgmental friend who has all of these things to say. And when it's my intuition, there's not a lot of thoughts there. And it feels very simple. It feels very just clear. And I've experienced this when I'm trying to figure out kind of what choice to make in a situation. And when I go toward one direction, there's all these thoughts and judgments and, all of these, it's just complex. It gets loud in your mind really fast. And then in the other direction, it's like, oh, duh, why didn't I think of that before? It seems like it's just simple. And there's this feeling of relief, like, oh, I can just do that, or I can just not do anything. So that's one way that I kind of discern is the complexity of it. And does it feel judgmental, or does it feel loving? Because I think our intuition is the love that lives within us, speaking to us through our bodies. And the other is, how does this feel in my body? When I, for example, think about making a choice in this direction, do I feel constricted? Do I feel tense? Do I feel, maybe I go numb and I don't really know what I feel? Or do I feel expansive and light and kind of free and open? And I associate that constriction with fear, and that openness with more of an intuitive, loving choice. So these are just a couple of tools that we can use. And I just want to note that we don't want to get to this process of interviewing our thoughts too soon. It's like that idea of, you can't solve a problem with the same mentality that created it. You can't relieve an anxious mind with an anxious mind. We've got to kind of go through this chain of like, I've gotten it out, I've soothed myself, I've grounded. Now I can kind of step back and reflect and look at some of these thoughts. So I know that that's a lot of information, and you don't have to remember all of it. You take what works for you, take what resonates, and you let the rest just kind of fade out into the edges of your awareness. You just kind of let it go, because you just need the things that worked for you, which I know you felt like, oh wow, that made a difference in how I feel. So right now, let's rate ourselves one more time. How do I feel on a scale of 1 to 10 with anxiety? 1 being totally fine, no worries at all. 10 is like a lot, feeling a lot, very anxious. How do you feel right now? And so if you notice that you're feeling more anxious than before, which isn't unexpected at all, because we just really got our minds going with a lot of that information, I want you to remember one of those tools that worked for you. Maybe it was integration breath. Maybe it was the tense and release. And you let yourself lean into one of those tools right now. So for me, that integration breath really works. So I'm going to take a minute and just let myself. And then we just start practicing those tools whenever they come up, and you can write them down. We've got a little image for you that you can save on your phone here in a minute, and you just keep coming back and you practice them, you use them as you need them, and they start to become automatic. They start to become less of like, oh, I feel anxious, so I'm gonna, do lion's breath, and it becomes like, whoa, that Instagram post I just read was a lot. You just go into lion's breath. So I hope that this offered something to you that you can take into your life. I hope this was helpful, and I hope that you got something out of being here in community with women and having this shared experience and knowing that you're not alone with your anxiety. It is so normal. It is so okay, and you are allowed to feel anxious sometimes. So let's go ahead and look at Q&A. Love the integration breath. So good. That's so helpful. And there's so many different types of breathing that we can do. There's so many different techniques. Again, these are just a handful of tools, and we have so many more available to us.
And I did want to say, if you are nervous about remembering these tools, we do have a whole pillar in the Mindful Mamas app dedicated to breath. And so you can actually filter between relaxing and rejuvenating and scroll through, so you can learn, exactly what Carina walked you through, or you can press this and Carina is in your back pocket and she can guide you through the breathing techniques. So these are really fun to try out, to try on, to try when you aren't feeling like you need them. Sometimes the best time to practice these skills is when you are in a state of calm and you are feeling a little more receptive, a little more grounded, because your body and your mind will be able to adopt and adapt to them and see them as something that could be really beneficial for you if you try them when you're feeling a little bit more secure and stable. It's so strange how when we're in that fight mode or we're in that flight mode and we're anxious, how our wise leader, the frontal lobe in our brain, just goes offline, and we're not able to access a lot of the tools. I know, especially when we've been stressed for a very long time, it can be very hard and complicated because you know that you have tools and you have coping skills, but to actually use them and to have that forward thought and that just awareness that you need to dive in can be challenging. And so trying these things out with your kids can make it fun and more silly and a little bit more lighthearted and approachable. Doing some of the guided meditations while you're showering, maybe you don't start where you're just dropping in right after you put the kids to bed. Maybe you need some time to down regulate. And like Carina said, just moving through that process to calm is okay. A lot of people, what works for them is to move and then meditate. And so really after the kids go to bed, picking up, maybe cleaning a little bit, putting on your pajamas, putting on some lotion, not asking your body and your mind to just drop in. That's a skill that develops over time. It doesn't come to everybody, and it doesn't always come even to those that are able to do it. And so really being aware and checking yourself and rating yourself on that scale. If you're at a 10, don't go to interviewing your thoughts. Don't go to a guided meditation that's for tuning into your intuition, because your anxiety is going to be screaming so loud that it might be hard for you to hear your intuition. We do on the app have an entire anxiety series that walks you through a lot of these steps so you don't have to remember them in ways that helps you first get it out and then soothe it and then interview it. We were very thoughtful in the way that we presented the anxiety meditations on the app, because we knew that you can't just drop in, that you need a process. And so we encourage you to try these out. let us know which ones are working for you, which ones you're having success with, which ones you might need a little bit more help or guidance on. We are always accessible via Instagram or through email. And let's go back into the Q&A just to make sure that we don't have any unheard questions. And then I will share my screen and just let you know what to look for in the follow-up email. It'll be a little PDF that you can print out, and we will take it from there. So let's see, Tessa said, I've been trying to deal with anxiety lately, and it's really helped me so much. Thank you, Carina. You've changed my life. Wow. Wow. Just feel that for a moment, Carina.
Thank you, Tessa. That is truly an honor to know that we can have that impact on you. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Karen said, I love having Carina and Terra and Mindful Mamas in my back pocket. Karen, we love you. Angela said, am I safe to one side of the center or witness, but I missed what's on the other side? Do you want to go back and explain a little bit what you were talking about?
Yeah, so we were talking about these two channels of the mind. There's negative mind and positive mind. So positive mind is like, it's where our kids are a lot of times. It's the world of imagination and possibility and, you know, dreaming about love and greatness and possibility. And then the negative mind is actually the protective mind. And it's the, am I safe? Should we take this risk? It's the part of you that gets suspicious and wants to be cautious. And then in the center is the witness state, the witness mind. And so we want to let ourselves move through all of those, because if we are struggling with anxiety, we probably spend a lot of time in that protective channel, and gratitude is one of the things that can help us shift into that positive mind.
Thank you for that. And then Thea said, taking notes to share with my sister. You're such a good sister. I can't wait to talk to her about these tools and how they might be helpful for her. Any tips on discussing anxiety with someone who experiences it more than you? That's a really great question. And, you know, my tip, and Carina and Elle can chime in as well, really inviting them. I think modeling and just sharing what works for you can be a really safe and less intrusive approach to helping people cope with their anxiety. So when we think about parenting, Carina and I are always trying to come up with curriculum and content that invites parents, invites families into the mother's calm instead of getting wrapped up into their chaos. And so, you know, sharing from just such a loving lens, like I took this webinar, I learned a couple techniques, I'd love to just share them with you, or I did this with my daughter the other day, and, you know, after that experience, this happened. Just trying to really pepper in those little opportunities for conversation to see if they bite. If they ask more questions. You don't know what they could be thinking, but I think sometimes when people are really anxious, you can get in a defensive mode because you're not able to receive. And so the peppering in approach and inviting them in and modeling it can be a really powerful and supportive and nurturing way to share this information with them that doesn't feel invasive or as if you are trying to force them into anything that they're not ready for. Let us know if that helps, and if Carina or Elle has anything else to add on, please do.
If I can just chime in very quickly, I still think it's pretty surprising that a lot of people don't feel comfortable talking about their anxiety or like just sharing how they feel. I have never been more open, you know, since I became a mom, because there's just no other way to survive if you hold everything in. And you know, maybe different cultures and different sort of like thoughts of thinkings, they may you know, make it uncomfortable for some people to talk about it. So that what Terra talked about was so important, is to really start by sharing what much you are going through yourself, and to make it less about, okay, like tell me what's going on with you, a little bit less, intimidating, and then people start opening up. I think that's how you and I, Tara, like we built our connection, is to be really open about what we are going through in our own lives. And I really hope more and more moms will be like that as well, because it's really, really important.
Yes, I think vulnerability is key in this. And the more that we talk about it openly and honestly, the more we just kind of naturally invite other people into that conversation when they see in their circle, oh, this is safe to talk about. There isn't stigma around this with all of you. There's an openness about it. Then they might feel safe to talk as well. So vulnerability is so key.
Absolutely. And then Laura, or Lara, sorry, I'm not sure how to say your name. It says, my toddler's meltdowns have been increasing lately, and I can't wait to try some of these breathing techniques to cool off me and her. We can't wait for you as well. Your little ones are always watching, and they're always monitoring, and they're always processing, and that can be such a heavy burden to carry, but also a beautiful opportunity to also have to shape our little ones to do better than us, to unlearn and to learn, and to be more compassionate and more open for love. That's just what we need right now, is a whole lot of love, and you showing yourself this self-care and modeling it for your children. It brings me to tears when I think about women doing this with their families, and being open to learning this journey. It's not easy. It takes time. It is a practice, so be gentle with yourself. But we are so just excited that you're here. Thank you, Elle, for opening us up to your community and for sharing with us. I'm going to share my screen now so you can just see what's on the other side. Oh, here's our curriculum. Hello. Not that. Here we go. So this is what you can expect to see in your email. So we mapped it out, the Get It Out, the Soothe It, the Interview It. And then we also have some discount codes. So if you want to shop at Emilia George, you can enjoy 20% off your order, which is so generous. Thank you, Elle. And then if you are really ready to up your mindfulness practice, you can download the Mindful Mamas app and try it for 7 days free. And then if you like it, which I hope you do, you can jump on this website right here and snag it for $20 off with the code Emilia20. And we are so thankful that you were here. If there are any further follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out directly to Elle or Mindful Mamas, and we will be in touch soon. Thank you all so much for being here. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you so much, everyone. You will be receiving an email from team at Emilia George within 24 hours. So we can't wait to share all the great resources with you guys. Thank you. Have a good
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Tara.
Bye.
Bye. Hi. Oh, I saw that